What I'm about to tell you is something I've never shared with anyone before. 3 months ago, I discovered something in my wife's office that didn't just change everything, it destroyed the person I thought I was. My name is David, and for 12 years, I believed I was married to my soulmate. Sarah worked as a marketing director for a tech startup downtown, while I ran my own accounting firm from our home office. We had what everyone called the perfect marriage. Date nights every Friday, shared dreams of traveling Europe, inside jokes that made us laugh until our stomachs hurt. But perfect marriages don't exist, do they? It started 3 months ago on a Tuesday evening. Sarah had been working late again, the fourth time that week. When she finally came home around 11 p.m., she looked different. Distant. Her usual bright smile seemed forced, and she barely touched the dinner I'd kept warm for her. "Everything okay at work?" I asked, watching her push pasta around her plate. "Just the Henderson project," she said without looking up. "You know how demanding they are." I knew the Henderson account. Sarah had been working on it for 6 months. But something in her voice felt off. Like she was reading from a script she'd rehearsed. The next morning, Sarah left her laptop bag by the front door. She never forgot her laptop. Ever. As I watched her drive away, something twisted in my gut. Call it intuition, call it paranoia, but I knew something was wrong. I waited 2 hours before I opened that bag. Inside, wedged between her laptop and some client folders, were photographs. Not digital files on her computer, actual printed photos. The kind you get developed at a photo shop. Who prints photos anymore? The first photo showed Sarah at a restaurant I didn't recognize. She was laughing, her head thrown back in pure joy. The kind of laugh I hadn't seen from her in months. But she wasn't alone. A man sat across from her. Dark hair, expensive suit, wedding ring catching the light. His hand was reaching across the table, touching hers. My chest tightened. Maybe it was a work dinner. Maybe it was innocent. But then I saw the second photo. Same restaurant, same man. This time they were walking out together, his arm around her waist. Her head on his shoulder. The timestamp on the back read 3 weeks ago, the night she said she was working late on the Henderson project. I sat on our living room floor, surrounded by 12 photographs that told a story I didn't want to believe. Sarah and this man at dinner. Walking hand in hand through downtown. Kissing in what looked like a hotel parking lot. The last photo was the worst. They were in what was clearly a hotel room. Sarah was wearing the red dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last year. The dress she said she was saving for a special occasion. I recognized the man in the final photo. It was James Henderson, the client whose demanding project kept her working so late. Suddenly, everything made sense. The late nights. The mysterious phone calls she took in the other room. The way she'd started dressing differently, more carefully. The new perfume. All of it had been for him. I put the photos back exactly as I'd found them and spent the day in a haze. When Sarah came home that night, I studied her face, looking for signs of guilt. But she just smiled and asked about my day like nothing had changed. "How's the Henderson project going?" I asked casually. "Oh, you know James," she said, not missing a beat. Such a perfectionist. "But we're making good progress." James. She'd never called him by his first name before. For a week, I said nothing. I watched her lie to my face every single day, inventing elaborate stories about client meetings and project deadlines. Each lie felt like a physical blow. But here's the thing about discovering betrayal, it doesn't just break your heart. It awakens something else. A cold, calculating part of yourself you never knew existed. I started doing research. James Henderson wasn't just any client, he was the CEO of Henderson Industries, worth an estimated $40 million. Married to a prominent surgeon named Dr. Patricia Henderson. They had 2 kids and lived in a mansion in the hills. I found Dr. Henderson's contact information easily. She had a public profile on the hospital's website. But I didn't call her. Not yet. Instead, I hired a private investigator named Marcus Webb. Former police detective, impeccable reputation. I told him I suspected my wife was having an affair and needed proof. Marcos worked fast. Within 5 days, he presented me with a folder that made my photos look like amateur hour. Hotel receipts spanning 4 months. Credit card statements showing expensive dinners and jewelry purchases, jewelry I'd never seen Sarah wear. Text message screenshots that were so explicit I had to stop reading. But the most damaging evidence was the video footage from the Grandview Hotel. Crystal clear security camera footage of Sarah and James checking in together on multiple occasions. Marcos had also discovered something else. Sarah had been stealing from my accounting firm. Small amounts at first, $500 here, $1,000 there. But over the past 6 months, she'd taken nearly $15,000 from my business account. Money she'd been using to fund her affair. She's been financing her own betrayal with your money, Marcus said, sliding the evidence across his desk. That's a special kind of cruel. That night, I made copies of everything. Then I made a decision. I called Dr. Patricia Henderson. Dr. Henderson, my name is David Mitchell. I believe you should know that your husband James has been having an affair with my wife for the past 4 months. I have extensive evidence, and I thought you deserved to know. The silence on the other end lasted forever. Can you prove this? She finally asked, her voice steady as a surgeon's. I can send you everything within the hour. Send it, she said. 24 hours later, Sarah came home in tears. David, something terrible has happened, she sobbed. James, his wife, found out about us somehow. She's filed for divorce and she's going to take him for everything. His career is ruined. The board is already talking about removing him as CEO. I looked at her with what I hoped was convincing concern. Us? I asked quietly. She froze. The word had slipped out, and we both knew it. David, I know about the affair, Sarah, I said calmly. I've known for 2 weeks. She collapsed onto our couch, her face in her hands. No more lies. No more excuses. Just the weight of her choices crushing down on her. I also know about the money you stole from my business, I continued. $15,000 to fund hotel rooms and expensive dinners with your lover. Her head snapped up. How did you? I hired a private investigator. I have everything, Sarah. Photos, videos, financial records, text messages. Everything. The next 3 hours were brutal. Sarah confessed to everything, the affair, the theft, the months of lies. She begged for forgiveness, promised to end it with James, swore she'd pay back every penny. But some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. 2 weeks later, Sarah moved out. The divorce papers were filed the following Monday. Since I had evidence of both adultery and theft, my lawyer assured me the proceedings would be swift and favorable. James Henderson's life imploded even faster. Dr. Henderson took him for half of everything in their divorce. The board voted him out as CEO. His reputation in the business community was destroyed. Last I heard, he was working as a consultant for a fraction of his former salary. Sarah had to find a new job after her affair with the client became public knowledge at her firm. She's been trying to rebuild her career and her life, but word travels fast in our industry. As for me, I'm still processing everything that happened. Some days I feel anger, some days relief, some days just empty. But I learned something important about myself during those dark weeks. When someone betrays your trust that completely, you discover reserves of strength you never knew you had. The house feels different now. Quieter. But it's honest quiet, not the fake peace I was living in before. I'm building something new, a life based on truth instead of beautiful lies. If you're watching this and something feels off in your own relationship, trust that instinct. The truth might hurt, but it will also set you free. And if this story resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes we all need a reminder that we're stronger than we think. Until next time, this is David, reminding you to trust yourself. You usually know more than you think you do.